Hello, hello, hello. What's good? Hello again, Westworld writers, YouTubers, and hosts back again to talk about this crazy series about robots. And you already know what's up. We got the one and only Beard of Knowledge with us tonight. How's it going, Andy?
I don't know about Beard of Knowledge, but the Beard of Tinfoil, we can go with that. It's going to feel that way after today because I got some thoughts.
Absolutely. What's up? We got the 1-2 David Adams showing up. What's up, brother? I see my man JD the Dragon. Good to see you. Good to see you. Let's do this. Oh, you already know it's time to talk about some robots. But first and foremost, we got to talk about the question from what everybody and what's on everybody's mind. The new episode of Tiger King's out. No, I'm just kidding. We're about to get into this, but seriously, before we get into this episode, I just had a couple quick questions. I kind of did a quick rewatch of the first two episodes, and there's just a couple of things that kind of popped out that I wanted to talk about, like or even before that, like at the end of last season, Dolores remakes Bernard and says, "So many paths lead to our extinction. It'll take both of us if we're going to survive." So it's like, I saw that and I was like, right out of the gate in last season, were they telling us, because, I already think that this story is kind of being told to us backwards. Did they tell us right out of the gate that she already beat Sirach and now that it's up to her and Bernard to reform the world?
I think that she got too much access to the machine because, I don't want to get too much into this episode, but, I think she has access to Hobo, so she can predict which ones work out. So maybe that's her actually coming out of the simulation, realizing she needs Bernard, whereas like most of the season is being simulated, leading towards that ending of last season. That makes sense. So she's seen all the simulations, and now she has to go back through she found the right one, kind of like Doctor Strange did in Infinity War.
How did she get through all those simulations, though? Did she take out Sirach, or did she just found another way in?
Well, I mean, she's kind of in right now, right? Like, maybe, depending on where you think how deep you think the simulation theory goes. But, yeah, I mean, I don't even think I feel like this episode tried to get you, but I'm still, Sirach's not a real person. Like, I'm with that. Ride or die.
Well, yeah, they're definitely throwing in some wrenches into some theories and what they're trying to say. What's up? I see Christian Olis out there. Hey, my girl, AK Alicia Kingston. Good to see you. She says, "I think that she is ahead of the game and will be left on a cliffhanger of whether she actually won or not at the end of this season." AK doesn't think they're going to give us all the answers by the end of it. What's up with that?
Oh, man. I mean, I'm sure. Okay, this becomes a real problem. If they leave on an asshole-ish cliffhanger at the end of the season, I will not be doing these streams next year because I hate that. Like, little cliffhanger, it's okay. But I quit. Like, I'll quit a TV show. Even one that I stream about all the time, I'll quit it. You do an asshole cliffhanger, I'm out. You can do a little one. Little cliffhanger.
Especially this series, because they'd be waiting like 2 years to come back on and stuff. So it's like, it's just too much. You can't be leaving us hanging that long. It's just not right. But Dolores said to Bernard, "We are the authors of our stories now." Again, does this mean that she's killed off Sirach? It just seems like they kind of told us at the end of last season that she was going to win, and it's basically the host up to do their own thing, and now they're kind of filling in the gaps for us. It's kind of what it seemed like to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of her mentality. She's becoming uniform in her belief system. Like I kind of said earlier in the season, you have to do that. She has to have like a solid belief system, and that she is about free thought. She doesn't want she doesn't want to think that something is predicting what she's doing, or it's predetermined. She may realize that it really is, but I don't think Dolores does. I think Bernard does, but she doesn't want to believe that. Like, oh, my life's not planned out for me. I am changing things. And whereas Bernard's like, he's going to be the character like, this is the way it is.
Nice. What's up? I see you out there living my Rhapsody. Welcome back. Welcome back. Alicia Kingston says, my biggest question for this episode is, why is Bernard the only one they can't replace? Who the fuck is they? Oh, we're definitely going to be getting there. You already know. But before we even get into the episode, like, again, from last season, or even the beginning of this season, were those glasses that Dolores put on Jerry, were those the same glasses that Serac keeps using? Or is it just kind of those glasses are a thing in the future?
Yeah, I think those are the same type. It might be only like higher ups in this company can use them or something. Like, so he has them, this investor dude.
You don't think that's the exact same pair that Serac's been using? You think those are just glasses that are used in the future, kind of?
It could be. It could be she's taken out every person that's higher up, but I don't know. Like, this world kind of seemed like in chaos after what happened this episode, so maybe it's a long time in the future, but it doesn't, those glasses point towards my simulation, but
it's all a simulation. Again, when I was rewatching the first episode, I was noticing that the nurse that suggested moving Caleb's mom to a cheaper facility was totally preggers. So that makes two extremely pregnant women on this show, which is, that's a little different. So is that their way of showing us what scenes are happening in the real world, or what's going on with them showing us all these extremely pregnant women?
I didn't even know. I didn't notice. I never thought of that. So I can't have an opinion on it. Maybe they just wanted to like have pregnant women in there because there are pregnant women in the real world.
I just think that's maybe kind of their way of showing us like what scenes are absolutely happening in the real world and what scenes are kind of, when you got to guess if it's mirror world or not. Because that's what's going on obviously this season. It's a real world and a mirror world and different scenes happening in the different situations, as far as I'm concerned. When Charlotte first showed up at the board meeting, she overhears a member, like right when she walked in, she overheard a member saying, who died and left her in charge? And she says, I'm assuming that's a rhetorical question. So who was she talking about? Who died? And does this mean that we were right when we were guessing it was Serac and not the MIB, who that board member is?
Yeah, I think that's the case. But I think it was like a joke, that it was actually Charlotte like that died and put Dolores in charge. So I think it's like a little joke that you would find by rewatching it.
Like a little jab that only like us, the audience, and she would know. That's pretty quick. I like that. So I was wondering, like, maybe, had the MIB died at that point, and is he going to die in this season? And maybe that's why it was a rhetorical question. And it was Serac's the new buyer. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to come into play, like who she's standing in for, who that robot proxy is actually sitting in for. That's going to be a thing. Go ahead.
I'm just saying it's Serac, like him, his digital self.
That's what we said in the first episode, so I'm going to stick with it, but I don't know. They're starting to make a twist like there might even be one more thing to look at. When those two men from the meat factory were messing with Bernard tells them that she had a month head start. So at least that tells us that she basically created a month after she escaped out of the park. So it's not, we were trying to guess that, or everybody's wondering, was it 3 months, whatever. It's like, sounds like she was up and running for a month before she brought back Bernard. So I thought that was a cool, little info that I didn't catch the first time around. I like how one of the last things Martin said is, if you want something done right, you have got to do it yourself. It seems like Dolores had the same idea. That was kind of cool. That was just one more nod to basically all the Doloreses and all those people. It's fun going back when you already know it and seeing all the clues that they gave you. I was loving that. Where are all the people? This is LA and there's nobody around. Where are all the people?
I don't know.
This is a major metropolitan. Is that just showing us that this is happening in Mirror World, or is it showing us that, people are almost extinct? Where are all the people?
Yeah, maybe there's you gotta think, if Hobo has all this power over people, it can make it so people can't reproduce, right? Because if you were really trying to make everything super peaceful, you would want to limit the amount of kids that are born, right? Like if you truly wanted peace all the time, you would definitely have to limit the number of offspring. So maybe that's it.
Huh. So you think it's a controlled situation, kind of like China?
Yeah, except they're not aware of it. That's the whole thing of this is they're not aware of, that's the whole point of this whole episode, right? People aren't aware of how much control Hobo has over them. That's what Dolores sees. And she's like, screw that.
I like that. Oh, we got AK saying about the glasses. They don't only project holograms, but they can tap into the Matrix and read everyone's book, per se. I like that. We got One True David Adams saying, well, Ash got them glasses now. She's going to be going mental on fools with me.
Well, I think the glasses are just a view into the simulation, right? So when you look at somebody with those glasses on, you can see their simulated self. So you would see all their stats, right? So you can look up all their stats because it's just a simulated person and you're just looking in the simulation. That's why Dolores was able in the first episode to like put him on the dude and he went after her, but she wasn't there because he was looking at her simulated self.
Okay. I like that. Dolores told Martin, you were free. You had no God, but you tried to build one. But that thing's not God. The real gods are coming, and they are very angry. What exactly are the gods Dolores keeps referring to?
She's talking to herself.
Is she talking about like her and Maeve, another host, or is she just talking about a bunch of Doppelbot Doloreses coming out and ruling the world?
Shit, she's talking, I don't know. She's talking about herself.
Just all the Doloreses coming out and just.
I'm telling you, she got this delusion of grandeur.
She said that is just the way it is. Where's Maeve at right now? Where's her control unit physically at this time?
Oh, shit, I don't know.
I mean, that robot basically broke her out and got her into the real world, but then got shot down and dropped it on the ground. So where did the security guards take it? And like, who is in control of Maeve at this point? Like,
Syrah. I think she's still being simulated. They're running simulations on how she can change things. It's just, you don't get me into the Maeve shit again, where she's such a badass and she's how anticlimactic to like, Dolores has this head start and she'll prepare a whole lot or whatever. And Maeve's like, well, she better have. And then she gets destroyed like 30 minutes later. Come on.
So you think when that robot got shot, that was still in the simulation? That wasn't real?
Maybe that was outside the simulation, possibly the robot, but maybe that was like a test with Maeve to see, like they gave her the option. That seems like stupid security, right? Like how everything worked out. I just was able to go in there, bust down, and then walk out. I don't know. That's all. That seemed weird to me. So I'm thinking maybe that was a test to make sure Maeve had what it takes.
Yeah, I like that. Does Rehoboam know that powers that Maeve has? Does she know that Maeve can control all the other hosts?
Oh yeah,
know that.
Yeah, because Sirach was aware of that, right? And I'm the believer that Sirach is a program inside Hobo, or a representation of Hobo. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that that it knows about Maeve.
Oh, we got my man, One True David Adams, already in the back end in the last scene of it. We're definitely going to get there. Looking forward to it. I got all kinds of questions. We got to get some of this figured out. JD says the thing I don't understand is why didn't Maeve just freeze Dolores? She has the power. Maeve hasn't seen Dolores yet. They haven't even run into each other yet.
Yeah, they have. When she is the dude. What's his name?
Musashi or whatever.
Yeah.
He's Musashi. Yeah, but that happened in the simulation, didn't it? That wasn't real.
From my perspective, yes. But she, even in that simulation, she was controlling people and shit.
She was controlling people in the simulation? She was controlling the gun. She was controlling the guns. I don't remember controlling the host.
But so she had that power.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's what kind of makes me think it's a simulation. Because I think all the Yakuza, I think those are all hosts. So why could she only control the gun? Why couldn't she just control them? And I mean, why have to like argue with the mortician and like be all nice to her? Just control her and make her take you where you want to go. And like shoot that guy, and why shoot that guy? I mean, yeah, there's just too many things. I think that was in the simulation. AK says, fully agree, Andy. I think that was a simulation, and the true Maeve will be back to face Dolores in the real world before the season is over. You already know that's happening. That's a guarantee. Now, my thing is once Maeve and Dolores finally hook up and she sees what's really going on, is Maeve really going to be against Dolores, or is she going to be like, man, this girl's got the right of it and actually join her team? That'll be the big one for me. What do you think about that, Andy? What's going to happen? You think Maeve and Dolores are going to be battling this season, or by the end of it, they're going to be on the same team?
Well, I think they're going to battle, but that doesn't mean that they don't end up on the same team. Dolores is kind of coming around where it's less about, killing everybody, and it's more like, let's sow chaos and let people be free, because she's under the delusion that people can be free. Whereas, like, let me just say it now, she thinks that if people know about Hobo knowing everything about them, that they can, that their life is somehow less predictable. Right. But just because that prediction's wrong because Dolores changed it doesn't make it any less predictable. It just changes the path that it was on, and now it's equally predictable. But they just don't know about it. So now they know about their previous. It's like if you knew about another timeline of yourself, and then, well, that's not the one you're on anymore, so it doesn't matter.
So you can change it.
Well, we're saying that
there is free will.
I'm saying Dolores changed it. Right. And the limitation of Hobo, it even has gaps. So that's the thing. In those gaps, it's wrong. But it's predictable if there was a better machine than Hobo, I think. But that's going to, like I said before, we've already argued about this once. So that is the point of the show, I think.
That could be. That could definitely be a big part of it anyway. AK says it makes no sense at all that Masashi would be the head of the Yakuza. Dolores could have picked anyone to play that part. She didn't need Masashi, so why is his form there? And I agree completely, which is why, again, that has to all be a simulation, in my opinion. I just don't think it just doesn't make sense. I mean, even the alpha male, if you went in and started killing all the head of it, all the people that were loyal to him would still be mad that you just killed their leader. I mean, it would take time for you to earn their trust and for them to want to follow you. So in 3 months, I just don't see how you become the head of that. It just doesn't make sense. JD says, because he followed Maeve and it's meant to mess with her, but at the same time, we are really seeing as far as hosts, she only trusts herself. It's why all the hosts we see are her exact Maeve and Bernard. Why all the hosts we see are her except Maeve and Bernard. Maybe. All right, well, let's get into it. This week's episode 5 is called Genre, and I mean, yeah, that was pretty great. This week opens up with Sirach giving us his origin story, and right away he tells us he and his brother came to the New World with one goal in mind, to build a god. What New World is he referring to?
The world after... I think it's meant to make you think the world after, like, the nuke or whatever, but it's the created world, the mirror world, as we say. It's a simulation, right? Like
So you're talking about the world after their world being blown up and a new way of living. You think he's actually talking about the simulation?
Yeah. And we'll go into too much, but I feel like the brother, he's Solomon, and Sirach is hobo. Like, that's the thing, because one becomes obsolete and the other one is a more perfected version. But yeah, I think it's the simulation. Maybe they don't even know they're simulation, but I'm pretty sure they do. Like, they are the computer.
Once you, David Adams says he's going to stay there and just ride the fence until he gets more information. I don't say it is or isn't a simulation. I have no idea what it is. That's what I love about this show. I hear everyone's points and know why they say it. I just don't put my eggs in any one basket. Absolutely. That's a good way to stay. That way you're not disappointed or heartbroken when it comes up one way or another. Alicia Kingston says Musashi chose to stay in Westworld when Maeve could have let him out. He didn't want to follow Maeve, just like the two geisha girls that were her and Clementine's doubles for Samurai World. Absolutely correct, AK. It was his choice. And when they said that and did that, that's when Maeve knew that shit was a little askew. Absolutely. So next he sits with the presidente of some country who for one, he kept swatting at a fly. And Sirach called the people he couldn't predict flies in the ointment. Are we ever going to get an answer to this fly situation in this series, or have they already given it? Like, the fly was always on Dolores, and she is definitely a fly in the ointment. So is it foreshadowing that this dictator is also going to be able or become a problem for Sirach?
Could be, but I thought that it was more like telling you that Sirach's not a real person. Like, that's the way I took it. They were making such a point about the fly, and they were so focused on the other guy. But just like the hosts, Sirach wasn't reacting to the fly. It would have been flying near him too, but he didn't react to it.
It was kind of even more so than being on that president guy. It was more on the food, which was, I guess that makes sense. Flies would be attracted to food, but they're just really making a point about this fly. It's like, what is the point that they're trying to make? And that's why I was like, there's a fly in Dolores. She's the big troublemaker. Are they letting us know that this president's going to be a big part and a big troublemaker?
Could be. But like I said, I think it's showing that he didn't react to the fly. And it's like a more subtle way of, like, than season 1 where there's a fly crawling on someone's eyeball and they're not moving.
Right.
It's more subtle than that.
Kind of like a door situation.
Yeah.
Nice. When Sirach threatened that man with the big mustache will be the new president, didn't he pretty much just sign that dude's death warrant? Like, if you knew somebody else was going to be the guy to take you over, you were in charge, wouldn't you just take him out and be like, well, that problem solved?
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was like, what the hell? Like, you just screwed over that guy, you asshole.
That guy's probably just as solid and loyal as can be, and yeah, you know he's a dead man. I was like, that was a dick move. Alicia Kingston says she's still on the fence of whether he's real or not. Bernard thought he was real for the longest, and so did we, until Elsie figured out, oh no, you have a backstory. So that's true. They do like to throw in those little twists and wrenches on us. Who is Sirach telling the story to? And then I think by the end we figure it out. But that was was that kind of bugging you? Like, who is he talking to? Like, when he's telling this origin story, who's he telling it to?
Yeah.
I was just like, that didn't make sense. But of course they brought it back at the end, and it looks like he's just talking to his brother Rehoboam, or talking to Rehoboam.
Yeah.
Dempsey said there had been models created before this one, which at the time was called Solomon. Are Solomon or any of these other, because there seemed to be like a David and a Paul, and all, so it seems like there's a bunch of beginning models. Are any of those models like in use right now, or still around to be used later in the storyline, do you think?
Yeah, I think that they're going to become relevant in some way. Like, kind of like, Dolores's old body. There was something relevant to that it functioned different than the other hosts. And in season 1 or 2, yeah, it was 1. But yeah, I think they still exist and they're going to come into play somehow. I don't know what they're doing.
Could be. AK says, but that's the thing with the Brazilian president. Sirach probably already knows that he would kill that guy with the mustache. It was already his plan, maybe. Or is that how they're showing that he sets plans in motion because he needed that guy to die, so before he screwed something else up? That'd be pretty crazy. Yeah, it's snafu. How could Sirach assistant talk to him and then hand him an iPad? He takes it in real time and then uses it. If he wasn't real, then he couldn't interact with that guy, right?
Well, we're talking about like different simulations. I'll keep saying this. Like a simulation has to be as realistic as possible, including the people that are pretending to be like Sirach pretending to be in the real world. And I think this episode, even though they're trying to like directly tell you that he's real, like the whole episode, they're trying to say he's real. I still don't think so. Anytime you see like a real Sirach that's not something in the past, where is he? He's in the cloud. The whole time he's flying in the airplane in the cloud. And I think he is like, that's them telling you symbolically that he is not real. He is in the cloud. He's like.
But what's your how do you answer the fact that like what David's saying, how the guy handed him an iPad? If he's not real, how did he grab that iPad?
Yeah, but what real are we talking about? Like what levels of simulation?
Okay, I like that. And like you say, it's got to, if it's going to be simulated, it has to be exactly like the outside. So it would have to, I mean, it would work like that. And as long, I mean, if it isn't a simulation, then the guy that handed him the iPad is fake. So I love that. AK says, depends on how that's set up. Think of the holograms from the Star Trek universe. They weren't real, but they can still interact when they are activated in a simulation. Boom, taking it to the Star Trek answer. I love it. Oh, that's awesome. When Dolores put those glasses on Liam to see the real her, he said that she was a blank space, which is exactly what Charlotte's very pregnant assistant called Sirach. Is that again giving us a little note that maybe Dolores is Sirach?
I think it's just I'm more the opposite way that they're showing that Sirach isn't real. Hey, but if you want to add on to my theory that he's not real, I'm all for it. You add stuff to it. We're both on the same page. You're kind of agreeing to me.
Hey, I think he was real. Dolores just takes him out. Like whether it's a program simulation or a program that she ends up deleting and taking out, or a real human being, I think one way or the other, Dolores does take him out and becomes him. Basically to use his name, money, and power to do what she wants when she wants.
Dolores, yeah, I mean, it could be. That could be the case. But then it's like in semantics, kind of like last season, where are we saying the person is real? And how do you describe that in certain times when it's showing different timelines, right? Because then you can both be right. Like I don't know, like Hale being a host, not always a host, but sometimes a host, or, you know, at what point are you talking about? So it gets kind of difficult, but I don't think Sirach's real. I don't even think he ever was real.
JD says if he's a blank space, then how did Dolores check his backstory?
Well, maybe we're assuming that his backstory is like his real story, right? Like she could look up his cornerstone, like he's real. Or if you are a truly advanced simulation, wouldn't you like realize that someone could do that?
Do what?
Like they would be able to look into you. You have to prove that you're real, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, yeah, if you wanted to do that and you're trying to make people do what you want, make them think you're real, you would already have a backstory in place. Absolutely. I like that.
Hey, I agree with you. They're trying to tell you that he's a real person because he's aware that they're aware that people would think that, and they're trying to throw you off. Don't fall for this red herring episode. He's not real. He's not real.
Well, this whole episode was just a shaggy dog, huh?
Yeah. He is the cloud.
Oh, that's awesome. Dolores said Sirach already knows that Liam tried to outbid him on Delos. Liam acted like he didn't know what she was talking about. Did he really try to outbid him, or was it Dolores and company doing it under his name?
I thought he was more surprised that they were, they knew about it.
So you think it was him that was trying to do it, and he really was trying to take over and buy Delos?
Yeah, that's what I took from that scene. Because he does he's doing dealings with Rock. If he was just like a shareholder or whatever in the company, I think he has aspirations. You saw how he looked at the machine when he was a kid, right? Like in that scene, his dad was like, screw this machine. or screw this computer. But Liam was like, holy shit, this thing's amazing. He recognized it right away. So I think he has he's not as skilled as like the people that made it, but he has an investment in it. You know what I mean? Like he wants it, like he wants to be a part of it rather than just a figurehead.
Absolutely, yeah. He was absolutely enthralled with it, and I think we're going to find out that he has more to do with it than what he's been leading on, trying to adjust it. Liam says, "You think I killed your friend?" As he backs away in fear, but what do you think he saw when he was looking at Caleb right there? He was kind of freaking out when he looked at Caleb, and Caleb's like, "What do you see? What do you see? What do you think he did see?"
That Caleb is like a torturer and murderer? I thought that was pretty clear by the end. Was it not?
I mean, it could be. I mean, I would definitely, we're going to talk about that later, but yeah, I think that's the whole reason that Caleb is so against personals is that he was like the ultimate like wet work body man. And when they try to readjust him in the inner journeys or whatever, they try to take that out and make it like he hates it when actually he kind of live for it.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, that's what I think is he killed his friend, or, you know, and that kind of explains why someone, you know, the mom didn't know him. Like he thinks that she's his real mom, but the mom recognizes that he was kind of just he just took over someone's identity, is the way, as it was like Hobo gave him someone's identity, or maybe it's like Sirach did it later, or earlier, or Dolores does it to make this chance meeting, but in reality, like he's not that person that he's not Caleb or Cal, whatever his mom said. And that's why she recognizes that he's not him.
That's not really her son.
Yeah.
What if the story we saw was actually Sirach in a simulation, but he's actually in the place we see his brother in the rehabilitation center? AK going deep down that rabbit hole. I love it. I love it. It'd be like that Repo movie at the end. The main guy thought that he had finished his mission and won, but instead he was in a simulation and his mind and body was in a comatose state. I like it. I like it. Maybe that's why his mother kept saying she wanted her son back and it wasn't him. That's what Andy was just saying. So I think you're onto something. The way Liam said it made it sound like, I mean, is there a way that Caleb maybe killed Francis?
Yeah. Yeah, like Francis is his friend, right? You know I'm terrible with names, right?
Yeah. I think Francis was his boyfriend. I think Francis was his lover. I think Caleb's gay.
I mean, that could be, but either way, he killed him. Or maybe it's like that's what broke his mind, you know? Like,
not a doubt in my mind, 100%. I think that's just what they're telling us. We got they had to keep moving so Sirach couldn't locate him, and I was like, how with all that technology and the drip? Like, how could they not pinpoint exactly where they were? Like, why did moving matter in that day and age, do you think?
Can you say that again?
They said they had to keep moving or Sirach would be able to find them. And I'm like, with all that technology in that day and age and the drips and like, why would they not be able to pinpoint it? Why would moving even matter? Like, it just seems like they'd be able to locate them no matter how fast they were or where they were going.
They could, but they can, but being static, you're in much more danger, right?
Right. Hey, I think we were kidding. I saw on mine too that it kind of stalled out there for a moment. So what did we clicked out there for a minute? I see. Yep. AK says we were buffering. Keeps repeating Andy. You were in a loop. We're all in a loop. You two don't. Oh, yeah, you already know. With all these millions of people at home and everybody streaming and being on, it kind of warns you before you even start these things that it might glitch up. So, yeah, definitely let me know if that keeps happening. Yeah, it looks like we lost a few people too. But yeah, what's up, chat? We're back. We're good. No more stuttering, no more matrix. Yeah, I saw that earlier. I just thought maybe it was mine. I tried to hit it, but yeah, it looked like it was buffering. Yeah, millions of people all streaming. That might happen. Sorry about that. Not even sure like where it did it or what we missed. But basically, we're just talking about the rock locating them. So, dude, how'd you like that self-guiding missile that Caleb shot?
I thought that was cool, but it was like a fun way of doing it. But I also thought like that's a little unnecessary because those already exist. Like it doesn't have to be a grenade launcher thing, but it was fun. I was like, oh, that's cool. Except it had to mist set up the whole thing. I don't know.
I was just wondering, like, why, if you have that big gun, I saw you had more of those missile bullets. Why did they get out with machine guns and just get in a firefight at the end there? It's like, why not just pull that thing out and just blow them all away? I mean, they all got out of that one vehicle that was left, shoot it, blow them up, and be done with it. That kind of threw me off a little bit.
Yeah, because you gotta like set up the movie, right? The genre has to end that way.
Oh, speaking of genres and setting up movies, I love how Giggles took one look at Caleb and knew exactly what he was high on. He's like, "Ooh, you high on that genre?" He was like, "It's like 5 drips in one," and watch out for that last act, which ended up being reality. Was that just like Marshawn being a smartass, saying that the last act was basically coming down and back to reality as being the hardest?
Maybe. I don't know. I thought that like reality, I didn't think that was the last act. I thought the last act was like the horror movie, right? Because that happened afterward. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think they let everybody
The horror
know.
movie was first.
What?
The horror movie was the first act. Like you heard the music and he was
that was
in the car and he was trying to get out and it was like playing like that black and white horror music. Like
that was the silent film era. That's what the girl said. And I was so mad when I saw that scene and I saw what the drug did that I didn't mention it in the when they mentioned the drug and we were talking about what it does. She said it'll bring you back to the silent era. And I was like, oh, she meant that literally. And we didn't even mention that on the stream that was a potential like possibility that she actually meant it. Yeah, noir. That's the word. But I think horror was the end, right? When he starts to realize like he was the killer and stuff. It's kind of reality, but
could be. I thought maybe it was like the silent, like right when he first went in, it was like black and white and he was like sitting in the car and he was wondering what was up with the gun and looking around and like didn't really hear anything. But then all of a sudden you did start hearing music and it got like the scary horror music and he was looking outside and he was scared and he was trapped and people were chasing him and he was trying to kick open the door and he couldn't escape. Like I thought he had kicked into the horror scene at that point. But
well, I think on the beach, that's when like the Red Rum song was playing from The Shining. So that's why I think it's the horror, because that song is from The Shining and it was playing while they're on the beach, I believe.
Could be. That's why Dolores tried to drag him away before dying. Liam could say anything else to make Caleb question his actions with Dolores. Why Dolores tried dragging him away? Must be the other one. But yeah, I don't know. I was looking back because when I was kind of thinking that too. But when I went back and did the second rewatch, I was kind of thinking that like towards the beginning there, like it started out in the black and white era, but I thought it kind of went into like Psycho after that with the music. But yeah, I could have definitely been wrong. Watcher David Adams says, yeah, AK in the next with you and Andy, only 3 left. Talking about the chat. I love how so Giggles definitely knew it. You think the hardest one was basically the end being a murder? That was the horror one. I got to look back into that because I would definitely got that one backwards. Marshawn was just strolling around with an automatic rifle, like hardly concealed by that leather jacket. Nobody in his path had a problem with that or was going to alert the authorities on that. Just this dude rolling around with an automatic rifle, like that's no big deal. That kind of took me over for a minute. Like, where are all the cops in this show? This is L.A.
Yeah, but you don't really need, like, that's the whole point of what's it called, right? Of Hobo, is you don't need that. People become so reliant, it becomes like an optimism bias, right? The world is so perfect that you wouldn't you would see someone with a gun but wouldn't think anything of it. You're like, oh, that person probably, dude, people in banks all the time, banks go in and get robbed. Someone will come in with a mask and people will assume this can't be happening because this isn't like that wouldn't happen. Even though banks get robbed all the time, people have an optimism bias. They assume that it's not right. There's like accounts from security guards at banks where like saw someone walk in with a gun, but they couldn't believe it was real because like they're assuming that would never happen. And so when your whole world is going perfectly, you're going to assume that, that's not a real danger, someone walking around with a gun.
Yeah, okay. That's an answer. I want to know what that homegirl with giggles is doing with her brother. It seems like she's doing dirt to make sure he's taken care of and has a positive upbringing. Yeah, it sounds like he's a super genius, and she's just trying to get him in school and let him have a better life. And then, she was absolutely devastated when she saw the truth and found out, like, wherever he ends up is going to end up making her look like a saint. Like, that would be pretty devastating.
Did you pause it and read all those, what everybody was going to do?
Oh, yeah, dude, that was devastating. We're definitely going to, we're talking about that. Do you think Ciroc killed his brother, or is his brother still alive?
I think that he kind of replaced his brother. His brother is Solomon, and he is Hobo. I think that's what it is.
That's what it's going to break down to.
Yeah, like.
But they said that, so you don't think they created? How do you create yourself though? Because they said they created it.
Isn't that like I mentioned that before, like at the beginning of the season, where after you made me watch the intro, it's like, did God create man or did man create God? Right? And you don't know. Like if God's real, then it created man. But if man views a God, but that doesn't exist, then man created God. And that's kind of the thing. Can one create the other? Like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure like that's.
So you don't think his brother's even like made into a host? You think he's actually straight up Rehoboam or Solomon?
Yeah. I think, and like when Solomon couldn't predict shit, I think Solomon was creating a computer that could predict shit. Like, right? Like I can't do it perfectly, but I can create this thing that can. That's like what it was doing.
I see our girl Chrissy Oldstone's just hit the chat. Welcome. Good to see you back. So we already know that the system is flawed. Why is everybody getting so upset about this thing so-called predicting their futures? And why is Liam not bringing up the fact that the machine is not always right and just letting everybody freak out like that?
Probably because it's so accurate, right? Like, I mean, there's like this thing. Okay, think about how much like Google, how good they are at predicting what you want, or like something like Facebook. People say that they talk about things and then it's on Facebook. There's a high probability that Facebook's not actually listening to you. It just knows you so well that it can predict the things that you're going to be interested in or going to be talking about. Now, it's not going to be perfect because sometimes you're going to get ads that don't make sense, but
for the most part,
it's pretty good, right? So if Facebook says that you're going to be interested in something, you might be interested in it, or Google, right? So
every once in a while they're way off, but for the most part, they're getting pretty spot on, which is pretty creepy. Absolutely.
And then you think about that you can see all your past. Like, remember, you could see how accurate when they were showing the brothers and stuff, you could see how accurately it predicted past events. So it's very likely that is going to be in the profile, how well it predicted everything else when it made predictions. And if you can read that and you're like, holy shit, 5 years ago, it predicted what I was going to do yesterday. You're like, fuck, now definitely what it says is going to happen in 5 years is going to happen in 5 years.
Nice. AK says, see, that's what I'm saying about Ciroc. I really feel like he wants to hype himself up, and the brother that went crazy is actually him, and we're seeing his simulation that his brother made for him.
That's a dope one.
I love that one, AK.
Thanks, AK.
It's a great one. Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be a nice little twist if they switched up what they're saying. I would absolutely love that. I mean, I guess it would disturb me if I saw an algorithm that had predetermined who I could love and if I could have kids or not, and like how high I would be allowed to rise in society, like that kind of stuff. I guess you see that, and that would kind of tear you down. Like, wow, that kind of is where I'm at. Like, that is pretty ruthless.
And wouldn't you like? I think the real bummer to that is like, remember I was telling you before about me realizing that we have no free will in my head, and then getting like a real depression for like a couple of weeks where I was like, what does it even matter if we have no free will? I can't decide anything. And I think that's the same thing everybody else is going to be going through is like, man, I am not making my own decisions. I'm only thinking that I am. Right. So whether you believe what I believe or not, you can understand the perspective of, holy shit, I think I'm making decisions, but this thing knows the decisions I'm going to make. So am I really making those decisions? And it's really going to affect people.
Which I still disagree with wholeheartedly. And you do have free will. You do have what I think is a soul, and you can change things on a dime. So yeah, that's another half-hour discussion we'll have to have it at some point. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But yeah, it was. I mean, when I was, you said you paused it and you were reading everybody's like stories and all that stuff. It's like,
yeah, I was reading some of them, but I knew I had a 12-hour day today, so I didn't stop them all.
But wouldn't some people be happy to have this info? Like the mother who did see her daughter, like one of them, mother was with the daughter and she clicked on her daughter's thing, and it says that the daughter was likely to commit suicide in 5 to 8 years. But now that she knows early that her daughter has those tendencies, she can get started early and get her daughter into counseling, which is probably going to save her life. So, I mean, in a way, isn't it a good thing to have that information, or at least some of it?
Yeah, and that's Dolores's point, right? Is you should know what this thing knows about you and what it thinks you're going to do. And she thinks that sends it into more chaos, right? Because the more people know about their futures, it's that old thing. If you knew, would you want to know when you're going to die? Like, or how you're going to die?
That's the scary one right there.
Right. So then you can't, because then you think you can change it. But what if you can't? Right. Then it becomes a real problem because you already know if it's true, you know when you're going to die and how you're going to die, but you're going to spend all this time trying to stop it from happening. And then you waste your life away. And Dolores is
what if it says you're going to die on an airplane? Then you just quit flying in airplanes.
Yeah, but it's like a sequence of events is going to create a scenario where you're on an airplane. What if you are like, you're going to die in an airplane? What if you have a heart attack while you're out hiking in the woods and you end up at a rural hospital and you have to be flown to a major city? Then you die on that airplane, right? There's ways that it can still happen when you're avoiding what you want. But I think it should be people's decisions. And Dolores is like, screw that. Like, I kind of like the explanation at the end of the episode where she's like, it's probably the greatest act of anarchy in any piece of cinema ever. And I'm like, I agree. It's wild if you just gave everybody their future.
Oh man, outcomes are accurate before they saw the profile. Like I say, I don't know. I think seeing those profiles is just one more reason. And I think even if they didn't see the profiles, that it's not 100% accurate and they would be able to change it. I don't think anything's set in stone. But like I said, that's that conversation for another day. Caleb said this world is built on false hope and that he would rather live in chaos than a world controlled by him. But isn't it Sirach that's running the world? Why does he keep blaming everything on Liam?
Because he doesn't know. Like, he doesn't know. What if, like, the reason Liam is the way he is, right, is because he's one of the people can't be controlled or, like, can't be predicted. We already know that. But he was in one of those little rooms, and they thought they could fix him, right? And that's why he has this different identity and all that shit, because they thought this is a way to make him predictable. And it didn't work out, obviously. But so he's kind of broken in that way, and he just blames Liam for it because he doesn't know it.
He definitely was in one of those rooms getting rehabilitated. I mean, I think that was one of the things they let us know in the show. But
yeah, but I mean, like getting changed. Like he was unpredictable, and then that's why he doesn't know what's going on. They tried to make him predictable, and that's how he got let out. You know how like they were saying, Sirach was saying, "I'm trying to fix my brother" or whatever, and our Dolores said like, "You didn't fix your brother" or some shit, or "How's your brother?" Whatever.
Yeah, she's like, "I'm gonna fix the world." She's like, "Oh, the way you did? You mean how you did for your brother?" The way
whatever smart ass thing she said.
That was awesome.
So
true. It's like you couldn't even save your own brother. How are you going to save the entire world?
Yeah, but Dolores is Dolores going to see the irony in that, like how she is?
In her mind, she's letting everybody make their own choice. She's trying to free everybody to do their own thing. Like it's almost like she's back to the one giving. She's always about giving the people the free will. That's why she hates Maeve so much, because Maeve can control everybody. She doesn't realize though that Maeve realizes that and goes out of her way not to do it unless she absolutely has to.
Yeah, that's if they come in with that preview from next week where Dolores is the one telling Maeve like you have this power to control people. If Maeve doesn't like say, but I don't. Like that's the difference between me and you is we both have all this power except I don't use mine and you do. Like that's the difference. I give people freedom.
That would be pretty sick. I like that. But then again, once she sees how far and how hard Dolores is actually fighting for the people, I mean, it's definitely going to change her mind when she sees that, wait a minute, I think Dolores is actually on the right side of this thing. And I think they're going to end up teaming up. We know from season 1 that they have cures for major illnesses. So why would this machine not suggest children based on parents' genetics? Like they're saying if a parent has bad genetics that they're not approved for kids because they want to kill those bad genetics. But why would they worry about that genetic pool if there's already cures for most of that stuff?
Because wouldn't you want to breed for improvement in society? Like let's say that you had like super geniuses and shit. And you just wanted to breed super geniuses.
That makes for a boring and dangerous world. I don't think that's good. I think you have to have the entire arc.
Yeah, isn't that Sirach's thing? He wants a boring world. He wants a peaceful world. And it's that school of thought where he thinks like peace is the best thing and where he'll control people for that peace. And then there's other people out there that are like, freedom's better. Like I would rather be in more danger but free than peaceful. And
well, exactly. And they have a word for that other thing too. That's like, I mean, the world needs wire layers as well. I mean, not everybody can be a Liam billionaire walking around, or not everybody can be a Sirach building a Rehoboam. I mean, they need people to lay the wire. They need people to build the cars. They need people in the shops and the factories. And I mean, if everybody was just geared to be a super gene, you wouldn't have any, but you wouldn't have a society because you wouldn't have both ends of it. You know what I mean?
True, but I think society would progress. But that's fair enough point. We're just assuming they bred for super geniuses. What if they just bred for suggestibility, right? Like people that are more easily controlled. So diseases don't matter, but people that are more easily controlled by Hobo is what Hobo would want, right? If you want the perfect world, you would want to get rid of unpredictable people.
I like that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Caleb just got done yelling at Liam about rather living in chaos. So why did he give Dolores such dirty glares for enlightening everybody else? Like he said he wanted the information, but yet he's mad at Dolores for unlocking everybody else and giving them the info. She even mentions that again at the end.
Yeah, but that's a different thing. Like that's the whole, would you want to know when you would die and how you would die? Well, what if you didn't want that information, but Dolores gave it to you anyway? That's not freedom. She took your freedom away by showing you that. There's just a different kind of control.
I disagree. I think she freed people up to change the course of where the machine says they're going to go. If somebody told me I was going to end up in a ditch if I kept going on this path, I would instantly change my path.
Maybe. But what if that thing was the catalyst? Because you're making the assumption that Dolores is the anomaly. What if this was all predicted? You don't know. Like, it's not Caleb that did it. And we can clearly see later that they have it out for Caleb and not Dolores, because Dolores had to jump in front of bullets all meant for Caleb. So she, I don't think, is the unpredictable and the one causing anomalies. It's him.
No, you've been saying that since we started on episode 1. And I saw right when Chrissy Oldstones came in, she was saying the same thing basically. But yeah, it's Caleb who's the catalyst, not Dolores or Maeve. It's going to end up being Caleb. But of course, he's the star of the show this season.
So that's the thing. What if this was all predicted and they're giving out false information?
Well, yeah, we already said we know that Sirach does that. Like at the beginning of the show when she said when he's talking to that Presidente, and he's like, "Oh, my intelligence haven't told me that." He's like, "Your intelligence only knows what I want him to know." So we already know that he puts out whatever information that's going to be the best for his cause, and that's not necessarily going to be the truth until he makes it into the truth. Like he actually, by saying that and doing that, his actions create it to be the truth. Malores repeats a line to Bernard that Dolores had said to him shortly after bringing him back online. We all have our role to play. Some of us won't survive. And I forgot where I was going with that one. I was like, later he says, and then cut it off. That's funny. I must have stopped and went somewhere else.
Well, it might be about the fact that they say he's the only one that matters, right? Like he's the only one they can't recreate. What if he's the only host that isn't predictable? He's the only anomaly in a host. Like maybe Dolores comes to the conclusion that everybody is predictable except for a select group of people like Caleb. And there's no host in that way, except for Arnold was one of those people that were unpredictable. And that means that Bernard would be a host that's unpredictable. So maybe that's the only rationalization I can think of to say that he's the only one that can't be recreated.
I mean, she got the balls, and all the balls were gray from the host, except for Bernard's. Bernard is red and gray. So yeah, it's like, what is it about that? And we know that he's a doppelbot. He's actually based off someone human. But yeah, what is it about that? Why is it that he can't be? Why can the other ones be created again? I mean, we already know she can reproduce herself. She's done it plenty of times. But what is it about Bernard that can't be reproduced? And again, I think that it's Dolores and Bernard, both in Bernard's body. So does it have something to do with that?
No, I think it's the Arnold imprint, right? Because maybe it's because Ford's not there anymore. Remember, like he was created by Ford's memory of Arnold as well. So maybe that's why he can't be recreated, is because it was made in Ford's head. But I'm going with the unpredictable thing, like that. He's the only host that can't be predicted.
Something that Ford did do that they don't even know about and can't duplicate, but they already did because they did make another one. Maybe because they are it just doesn't make sense. They got to give us more information about that. Bernard says she's sending them off their loot. With your theory, will it matter? You say that we don't have free will and that everything is going to happen how it's going to happen. So if you're able to know the outcome in advance, wouldn't that change the equation and give you back free will and the option to truly make a choice?
No, because you're assuming the computer is perfect, right? If the computer was perfect, then it would have predicted this action and then everybody's subsequent response to that, right? So that's the perfect predictability, but it's a machine, so it's flawed. It can't predict everybody and it can't predict everything. What's his name even says that there's these little spots where it can be changed. And so it's because that's not perfect. It's not because the world is any less predictable if you had perfect information. But from this perspective of the computer, yes, it would change if it didn't predict Dolores, right? People's view of the future would change the future. essentially. But it was all set in motion anyway.
And you're saying it's going to happen the way it's going to happen, and there's just no changing the actual outcome.
Yeah, it's just the prediction that's imperfect. It's not the chain reaction.
Caleb is going to be Chris Evans' character from Snowpiercer. He's fighting for a revolution, but in the end, he'll destroy most of the human race to give everyone a true chance in life. You think he's going to be the one that destroys everything? I don't know about that. Unless he comes back to his true self and he really is into the wet work, and that's what that's him at his like core, is basically wanting to do that kind of thing and hurt people. But I don't know about that.
Yeah, but that's one of the things too. Like the path to hell is paved with good intentions. Mm-hmm. Like he doesn't necessarily have to want to destroy the world. He can just be the reason the world gets destroyed. So.
Absolutely. What was that facility that Dempsey walked into? Was that a jail or a mental hospital, or what was that? I mean, was that just what was Inner Journeys? What is it? Is it just a rehabilitation center? What is it exactly?
They're trying to predict. I bet it's like a little enclosed thing where they can view every action by people that are unpredictable and see if they can predict them in the future. Like to see if they can fix them. Like,
are those real people in there? Are those hosts in there? Or?
Well, I think they're simulated people because we saw Sirach in there at one point. So I'm assuming they're simulated. But maybe there's that in the real world as well. I don't know. And that's the discrepancy. It's like, because you would have to simulate those people in the real world into the simulation to try to perfect it. The simulation has to figure out what it's getting wrong to improve it.
Yep, I get that. I like that. Sirach ran the scenarios. He thinks it's more humane to alter the chaotic ones than to send them off to war or into other high-risk sectors. Sirach seems to truly want to save mankind from itself. We adapt or we die. So, I mean, is he really the bad guy in all this?
Yeah, that's all about perspective, right? That's why they give you a Bernard, a Maeve, and an Arnold, or a Maeve, Dolores, and Bernard, because you could make an argument based on your morals for any one of them, whether they're right or not. It's feasible. So Sirach to some people would not be a bad guy because he truly wants peace, and but at what cost? That's that whole thing about if you had a perfect AI that it grew to, like, if you made its primary directive save humanity or protect Earth, it very likely would kill off humanity, right? Because we're the biggest detriment to Earth. So if you wanted to protect everything else, you would get rid of all humans. So an AI functioning without like programmed emotions would not be good at all. It's just dictatorial. That's
absolutely. What's good, Peter Griffin? I see you out there. Welcome back. Bloomer says they're coming, but there's something you need to see first, and shows him a re-education center in re-education number 036 called Inner Journey Recovery. Isn't that the same place that Caleb was subscribed to?
Yeah.
So basically, yeah, we're already talking about that. And yeah, basically, I mean, that's going to be. Do you think there's any chance that Caleb is like a reproduction of maybe like Sirach's brother?
Oh, it could be. Like maybe he
went crazy. So he said he redid it. He said he knows how to regene human beings. I mean, is that him rebooting his brother and putting him out into the real world?
Yeah, but what's up with all the wet works and shit? Well, I mean, I guess he was kind of crazy from the start, right? He's like, let's just kill him.
He wanted to kill old boy, so maybe he just wanted to kill all the people that were going to get in his way and like be a problem.
True.
That would be gnarly. That would be a sick little twist. Melora says to Bernard, you thought we were the enemy. We're the only family you have left. And in walks Stubbs saying, I think you forgot about me. Are the hosts truly forming a bond?
Not Stubbs, I don't think, but everybody else, yeah, I think like Dolores and Bernard actually care about each other. Like they have more than just like a programmed relationship with each other. It's like they
So
build.
hope can actually create feelings.
Yeah, I mean, as much as you and I can. I think if we understood, like, if someone, a philosopher, spent enough time breaking down human emotion, you could create an artificial one and then give it to a computer because it would know how to respond to certain things.
Yeah, I guess that comes down to having a soul, being able to, like, the choices you make inside. I don't think that the machines have emotions without being given emotions. I don't think they have feelings without being told what to feel. But again, that's another one that could go on for a minute. What's up, chat? Do the hosts have feelings? Can they feel out there? Do they have true emotions? Do they care for each other? Can they create love for one another? Is that a possibility? What's chat think about that? Can the host actually form true love and have true love for each other? That'd be awesome. So Bernard takes back that controller from Loris, and that thing's starting to become a bit of a hot potato. What's going on with this button being passed back and forth the whole time?
I think they kind of showed us that it's kind of like a master key, or like, Alexa, where you tell it to do something, then click the button and it does it, right? Because at first I thought it was like for freezing people until they started giving commands and then clicking the button. It's like an override, like encryption key. Like, I don't have the ability to stop another host from doing anything, but Bernard creates this button that basically gives anybody who holds it Maeve powers.
That's what I'd say. It just turns everybody who's holding it into Maeve, basically. So that's pretty clean. That's definitely going to come into effect. Like,
I'll be right back.
Okay, that's definitely a Chekhov's gun. Absolutely. Is that Inner Journeys the same place William's in? Absolutely. Is Inner Journeys a Delos corporation? Because we already saw on the back where the MIB is at that it's Delos. So is he in a special mental hospital that just like for higher execs or rich people, or is he being rehabilitated in this Inner Journeys? That's a great question, Chrissy. That is a great question. I would think it is, because they would want to rehabilitate him and change him or bring him back in his case, because he's completely flipped off the deep end. But yeah, that's a good question. Is that the exact place that he's in, and how's that gonna interact and bring it back? Because that's pretty wild. And again, we have to figure out which scenes of the MIB are actual real and which ones were we just seeing in the simulation that they were running on. Because I'm pretty sure over half of those scenes that we saw were just him in a simulation, and I'm not even sure. Yeah, and even half the scenes that Charlotte was in with them. Half of those are simulation scenes for sure. Peter Griffin says William may be safer where he is now than if he was out in this chaos. He is, but we already saw the things. It sounds like he's coming back into the chaos. And is he going to be, when he comes back out, is he going to be Team Dolores or Team Maeve? Is he going to come out to stop Dolores and then jump on Dolores' side? Is he going to be Team Maeve? Is he going to be Team Charlotte and be battling against Dolores and Maeve? Because I think Maeve and Dolores are going to end up on the same team, which would be kind of wild. What do you guys think about that? Got AK saying Bernard asked him previously if he really ever thought about why Dolores needs him. He's doing what he's doing. After Liam, Bernard's words are starting to sink in. Absolutely. I mean, once you get told something, you can't unhear it. So there's no way not to think about it, especially something like that.
I'm with your mom, Chrissy.
What's that?
I said, I'm with your mom, Chrissy. Like, your mom's got it down.
Bernard takes back the button, so we all have a role to play, and Malora says his role is finished. He says Bernard needs to get out of there before they all get killed. He's the only one they can't replace, and then Bernard raises an eyebrow. So that's what we're talking about. We need to figure out why is exactly he the only one. And maybe the reason that he's the only one that he can't be replaced is because Dolores put all that information inside Bernard.
Could be.
Maybe that's where it's at, and all the hidden information we're thinking like it's split up between all the Doloreses. Maybe it's just all put in Bernard, and that's why he's the only one who can't replace, because then they'll end up losing all that info, and they can't do that. I like that. That makes sense. Martell confronts Maloris and says Mr. Sirach would like a word, and we know that he's ready to go out, but not without one last surprise. And kaboom! Sirach knows so many outcomes, but how did he not see the death of one of his most loyal employees, Martell, just getting blown to bits?
You have to assume that he did, right? Like the assumption, because they want you to believe that Dolores is the anomaly, but she's not. From my perspective,
right.
And so he knew that was going to happen. I mean, wars take sacrifices. Like there are sacrificial pawns, and sometimes you sacrifice a knight. Sometimes you got to do it to get where you want to go.
And which one's getting sacrificed? Just that's basically he just sacrificed Martell to get to the next level. I mean, how does that progress his story or his cause?
I don't know. Getting rid of one of the Doloreses. You learn a little. Well, I guess you don't need that much more information. You need to get to Caleb, though. That's the thing.
It just seems like if he'd have saw these simulations, he would have known. But I guess, like Chris Yellowstone's saying, the host can't be predicted. Maloris is a host, so he didn't realize, and maybe he just didn't see it because he's a host and didn't realize that was going to happen. I like that.
Also, in this scene, I think there's something more important, that there's hologram projectors. So you don't necessarily need the glasses. Like the glasses are only for when there's no hologram projector. So I bet we're going to get later, they're going to reveal before the last episode that there's a bunch of simulations going on and Sirach's a part of one. And so that you would have to think back to that. He could be being projected anywhere with one of those projectors, and you're just assuming he's real. You know what I mean? Like we were talking about with Maeve in the restaurant. If there's a projector there, then that's another reason she wouldn't need glasses if she was in the real world.
Or just like we were saying, that it doesn't seem that the hosts really need glasses to see.
True. I'm just giving alternate things, ways they can fool you. Like, oh, if you did catch on that they could only see him with glasses on, then you're like, oh, well, I don't know. They're just giving you more options before they reveal it.
Chrissy thinks some people use glasses and others use contact lenses. That'd be kind of cool. I mean, it does kind of look like Dolores might just have constant contact lenses in. Looking through that, it could be a thing. After the bomb goes off, Stubbs asked, what the hell just happened in there? And then says, what the hell just happened out here? Are all the people outside running for a different reason than the building just blowing up?
Oh, it's chaos. Remember, Dolores, she showed everybody their future and their past and everything that it knows about them.
So you think that's what he was talking about, and that's why it wasn't the building that had people running out there. It's because everybody out there just seen their phones and realized what the truth was.
Yeah.
That's what I figured. I like that. I want to see if you had something else. Liam says the system's not the prison, the unpredictable ones are. He says Caleb's the worst of them all. He doesn't even know who he is. What did he mean by that?
Well, he was part of one of those programs, I'm sure, like the re-education type thing, to make him predictable. And he's still not predictable. I don't know. Like, that's what I mean. Or, like, he's the problem, right? So
does this bode more for that Caleb's human and just reprogrammed, or that Caleb's just regenerated as an actual host?
No, I think he's a person in the real world. Maybe he might be a simulation, but I think that he's not. Maybe there's certain simulations of Caleb, but the real him that is not like, there is a real him, and they're trying to figure him out. And that, remember earlier I was saying that's what the simulation's about, is trying to figure out Caleb. And that's why the whole Dolores set up, and certain things are happening that way. So yeah, I think he's a real person they're trying to figure out.
Like AK says, who the fuck is them? Like, you're the worst one of them. Like, who is them? I think when he's saying them right then, he's talking about the flies in the ointment, the unpredictable ones that cause chaos and the ones that are going to bring the whole world to ruin, is what he's talking about when he says them.
But also, didn't we predict that that Hobo was using them, that those people were kind of necessary for wars and whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and then
we did call that was they had a specific purpose that they would use those people for.
Absolutely. Put them in all the most dangerous sectors. Absolutely. Caleb has always seemed adamant about not doing the personals. Is this because in his past he did a lot of wet work? We were talking about that. That's definitely what they made it look like in the flashbacks, that he was just an absolute killer. That's pretty much what you got from that?
Yeah. Or at least that's what they want you to think.
That's kind of the way they're going. Liam's dying words were, you did it. What do you think he was talking about? What was it exactly that he did?
Killed his friend.
You think that's what it was, him killing his friend?
Maybe it's destroying like Hobo, right? Like if you can predict someone's future. Because let's be real, like there a lot of things in this show can't be true at the same time, right? He can't be unpredictable, like they think. A killer, whatever he was, and the shit that Dolores said on the pier. All those can't be true, because if he's unpredictable, then there's no way that the thing could know that he was going to kill himself, right?
I mean, yeah, you can't have it both ways in some situation. But again, it can, because just like Rehoboam, it doesn't give just one path. It gives multiple paths of what could happen. I mean, like we showed him with the stock market, it could finish higher, it could finish low. Which way do you want it? And then they kind of guide it that way. So there are multiple outcomes. And I mean, they're basically able to play God and guide which one they want for most part, or for most of it. Did they maybe catch Caleb doing personals like on the Rico app and send him to Inner Journeys just to be rehabilitated or transformed? Is that how Francis died? Like maybe doing a Rico job?
Could be.
Didn't kill him. Maybe they did a Rico job and he got whacked, and that's what happened. Because we see in one of the flashbacks that they show Francis in like in prison garb, like he's in an orange jumpsuit, and they're talking through a glass scene. So it almost looks like he got put in jail at one point or something like that. Or did maybe Caleb try to break him out of jail, and that's how he died and didn't make it? I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if necessarily Caleb killed Francis. I don't think Caleb.
What if he
I think they were lovers.
Tried to turn him into a host, like that potential. That's why like he gets so mad about the Francis calling him. Like that's not him. Like he feels guilty that he set up his friend to become this immortal thing. And it's not him. Like
they flipped the script. It's not Caleb that they're trying to transform. It's actually Francis becoming a bot, and they need Caleb to talk to him to like get that's like his fidelity test. So it's actually Francis who's the robot they're trying to work on and make a new host. That would be amazing. Like they're trying to make it look like it's Caleb, but it's actually Francis. What's that?
And then he feels guilty about it, or why does he hate it so much? Does he think
because he hates robots? He wants a human, and he's like, dude, you're not human. And they're like, no, we're going to bring him back. It's going to be just as good. And so he's fallen for it because he loves him. This is his lover, basically. And so he's like anything to bring his lover back. But then he's realizing the more he talks to him and the more he deals with him that this isn't the guy. This isn't the person I love. This is a robot, and that's what makes him so mad about the whole situation.
I like it.
That would be a sick twist. I love that. Brought up on the fly. Yeah, I think that'd be crazy. Because there's the more I hear and the more like they're talking about it, like they're talking about wanting to build a future together, and Francis has got his arm around him kind of at one point. I'm like, these guys aren't friends, dude. They're lovers. There's just not a doubt in my mind at this point, which is why it tears them up so much. And yeah, that's why it would make sense. Like he loved him so much, he tried to get him in a program to turn him into a host, but it's just not working out. That would be amazing. Srock tells Dempsey that someone in this group is an agitator that will destroy the world, and he can't let that happen. What group is he talking about?
Like the group of people that are unpredictable?
I mean, is it such a broad term? Is that what he's talking about? Like one of these flies in the ointment is going to be the one, but that's a lot. And again, are they trying to get all the people that they thought were flies in the ointment and put them into that inner journeys place and just turn them all?
Yeah, because even if you couldn't predict them, like let's say a self-learning thing has to figure out what it gets wrong, right? That's what I said earlier. But even if you can mitigate the number of things that you can possibly get wrong, then you eliminate the unpredictability of your machine, right? If everybody that could be or couldn't be completely predicted is taken out of society, then you can predict everybody. And then you can make the world perfect. I'm wondering if they don't know for sure what that one of them is going to destroy the world, just that it's very likely because they can't be predicted, and that destroys the whole machine about predictability.
Okay, I like that. That makes sense. Even Sirach admits that there is free will, little white spaces and rare moments of randomness that affect your life and create a truly free space that allows you to make a choice, a bubble of agency.
Yeah, but I'm from the assumption that he is like Hobo, and if Hobo assumes that Hobo is is predicting essentially some kind of perfect. I was trying to phrase it right. Like he's some kind of perfect. He would assume, like from his perspective, people are changing things. But in reality, it's his program that's flawed. Nobody's actually changing anything. It's just those moments he can't predict.
So you don't think there are little tiny spaces, a white space that allow people to make free will, a choice, an actual true choice in their life? You think everything's predetermined no matter what?
Yep.
That's where I have to disagree. I think he's absolutely right. There comes a spot, and for that split second right before you actually act, I think there is an absolute chance of being able to change your mind, switch it, and make a different choice than what was predetermined. And I mean, yeah, I know you're talking about the arcs and the path of least resistance, but I mean, it depends on where it starts. Like the path of least resistance starts somewhere, but I would say that those arcs of energy are just ideas being formed, and which idea is going to take over. That has nothing to do with the path of least resistance. It's the strongest idea, the one where your feelings decide to emote the hardest, and that's the choice that you end up making.
Well, I mean, I can explain sort of where the little electricity comes from. It's the stimuli from you see from your senses, right? That triggers something in your brain which is the chain reaction of your your thought. It's fine if you don't believe me, like you believe in the thing. You just have to, like, from my perspective, you have to believe in something supernatural to get to that point. Because if you don't believe in the supernatural, then you have to assume that everything is following exactly the laws of physics, which makes it not possible to have free will because everything's just going in a chain reaction. But if you have something supernatural like a soul or, anything that the religions believe, essentially means that there's an external input into your brain that can help that's what gives you the ability to make decisions.
Feelings and emotions.
Well, feelings and emotions can be triggered with chemicals and stuff. So it's not necessarily that.
Well, that makes in with past experiences.
Well, that's your brain makeup, the architecture of your brain. Your past experiences create pathways. So the architecture's there, and you have to believe in something higher.
Yeah, we can definitely go back. Well, I can see us just going around and around on that one. So it would seem that the one Sirach is talking to is Rehoboam. He called it his love and said that he ensured that it would outlive him and his brother, and that the strategy would succeed. What strategy is he talking about? And doesn't this bode pretty well for my theory that all the humans are dead and this is just the machines continuing on in their path?
It could be. I mean, you're right. That would make sense. But you have to make it more interesting at the end of the day than just everybody's dead and let's It was all a simulation. You have to add something to that. You put hope at the end or whatever it is, but you have to have more than that. It has to lead towards something, or else you just watching a series of events, and that there's no reason to care, right? It makes everything, all your time watching, wasted essentially. But
I disagree because it gives you a chance to theory craft and have fun and try to guess and figure it out the whole time.
yeah, but like a story's only as good as its ending, right?
Game of Thrones. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them, and I'm just saying, if that happens, you're gonna have a lot of displeased people because that's a terrible ending.
I think they can bring it on, but yeah, I mean, you're right. Yeah, definitely. Sirach and Dolores have a discussion in the hangar, and she absolutely owns them. Basically, she says that it's time everybody woke up, but didn't she already do that? So when did this hangar discussion take place? Like, she's like, it's time for everybody to wake up. Didn't she already wake everybody up? And I thought, like, okay, they're showing that this happened before all that other stuff happened, but Liam's already gone. Liam had already told Caleb. So, I mean, this happened later. So what are they talking about?
It's another layer of the simulation, right? Like if you were like, hey, you got to stop fucking up my simulation. Stop that. Then she's like, nah, I'm going to let everybody in the real world know what's up. Like they're having an interaction. It's like a battle playing out over and over again.
Right, but she says it's time to wake everybody up. She already did that. I mean, she let everybody know what was happening. Now is she going to give everybody a plan to act on it? I mean, I don't get where she's going with that. It seems like she already woke everybody up.
Yeah, maybe in one of the simulations.
Oh, so this is just like maybe in the real world, or that was going to happen, and now this is the real thing. So basically, that happened in a simulation that we know is happening a lot faster, but now it's in the real world, and she's really trying to do that. So basically, he just saw that was going to happen, and now he's trying to stop it.
Or it could be showing her like what happens. If he can find her what her real motive is, then he can show her like this is what happens to the world if you do it. And like that's the part of the simulation is just showing her like what's up.
I love that basically it's just a simulation. It all happens super fast, but in the real world, it hasn't come down. And that's why when he went back to tell May, we've already lost the war. We need to change it somehow, so that's not the outcome.
Yeah, and the whole that's the arrogance of Sirach too, like of this program's thing where he thinks he's perfect because he is assuming they already lost the war, and he's assuming like to him time doesn't matter because he he's perfect and he knows what's going to happen. I don't like it.
Don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Bad guy.
After the conversation, Sirach looks horrified. Is this just because he's losing control, or is there something bigger coming?
When does he look so horrified?
Basically, after she walks, they have their little thing, and she owns them in that conversation in the hangar and walks right through them. Like it pans back to him in his airplane, and he just looks horrified. Is this because, like, basically he saw that this is coming to fruition, and they're going to end the world if he doesn't do something about it?
Yeah, probably. He went back up to the cloud. You can say that.
Why does Caleb keep looking at his hand?
I don't know. Maybe
Maybe what?
I'll have to think about that one more. I'm gonna say maybe it's like a Man in Black thing. Like he would look at his arm all the time. Remember, even before like he cut in, it was like him wondering if he's real. Maybe there's something to do with that.
It could be. Yeah, he looked at his hand. I mean, they kept glancing on his hand when he was in the noir part of genre. He was looking at his hand. When Dolores handed him that gun, he was looking at his hand. Like, he just kept looking at his hand, and like it kept making a thing like, why does he keep looking at his hand? What are they trying to tell us with that? I didn't get that one.
I don't know how many drugs you've done in your life, but hands look really weird when you're on lots of drugs.
He was still coming down and tripping. That was it.
He's like, oh, my arms have 5 little arms.
Really? What do you think was in that bag that was delivered to Caleb? It's pretty long.
Do I?
That was pretty long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just with more guns and stuff, but it looked pretty long. Like that's going to be a thing. What's up, chat? What was in that bag at the end of the show that that guy delivered to Caleb? Yeah, that's a good one. I have no idea. At first, I was like, okay, this conversation happened before it all went down, and those are the guns that Dolores handed Caleb. In the because basically, like they showed his hand right when he got that bag, and they showed his hand when Dolores handed him the gun in the limo. So I'm like, is that the connection? Like they're saying that that's what was in this bag is all these guns. Like that's the only thing I could put together.
Maybe like he's having a problem with like he's figuring out reality and like the simulation, and that's like the discrepancies. Maybe he's predicting like stuff that hasn't happened yet. Like,
who is
Caleb? Like that he's looking at his hand before stuff like even happened, and he's like,
oh, I like that. That's pretty sick. I like that. What's up, Carol Funk? I see you out there. Welcome. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool if maybe that was like he looked at it and then he looked again, like he was predicting what was going to happen with that. But it's still, I mean, I don't know. I think it's going to be more than that. That hand, it's got something weird, and yeah, maybe because it's a host hand and he's starting to realize that he's not human. Caleb says, and speaking of that, Caleb says that I'm not like other people, and Dolores is like, neither am I. It's like, did they just tell us that basically Caleb is indeed a host?
No, but he's unpredictable, and I don't know. She was just trying to say like I'm a badass. Like I'm not. I don't know. It to me, it's in my head what popped up. Like what happened was a kind of little bit of a cringe, like almost like a scene. I'm not like other guys. Like that's what when he said that. Like I'm not like other people. I immediately thought that, and I was like, ugh, like cringe.
Like that, Chris Yellowstone says maybe that's the hand he used to pull the trigger on his friend. Again, I don't think so. I don't think he killed his friend, but it could be the hand that he put over the blood wound, wound that he was trying to stop the blood from gushing out of. Like he saw the hand, like he tried to save Liam, and we saw the blood going all over his hand. And he was like, Dolores was like, we got to go. And he's like, wait. And he's like trying to save him. So maybe that was it. He was seeing the blood on it and kind of remembering what happened to his friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought he had flashbacks from Francis's blood on his hands. Yep, Peter Griffin seems to be right on board with that. So, yeah, I mean, that could be it. Maybe that's what he was seeing was the blood and remembering that situation happening. Just more flashbacks of his past. That could be. I like that. So, basically, the final question, where do you think Caleb and Dolores are about to fly off to? What are they getting on that plane for?
Paris.
No. I mean,
I'm not you. I have to have some context to where they're going. I can't just form some crazy idea and run with it.
Well, I mean, they showed us they're getting on a plane. They got to be going somewhere. You had to have some kind of thought like, well, what are they getting on this plane for? They got to be going somewhere. Where are they going?
What if it's metaphorical and they're just flying to the cloud?
It's all simulation and they're going back in the cloud. Maybe they're flying back to Westworld to get a bunch more Bernards because it's all a simulation. They're on a hunt. They're going looking for Ford. They're looking for Ford up in the clouds. It looks like he was assassinate somebody in a flash, or did I see that wrong? No, we were talking about that earlier, Carol. He definitely looks like he was an assassin, and we think that's why he's so against doing personals on the Rico app, because he was such a bad assassin, and he ended up having to go to the Inner Journeys place. They rehabilitated him and basically tricked his mind into thinking that now he absolutely hates Wetworks and would never do a personal. Oh, did you see anything about the next the trailer, the next episode coming up? The Dolores sightings are finally going to be on the same scene. What do we got to look forward to that?
I don't know. I'm excited, but It was going too fast. I can't keep up with all that crap. I was trying to look at background, see where people were. I can't keep up.
Yeah, they definitely they don't make it easy. They want to keep you guessing, and that is the beauty of this show. Like I said, I think they gave me more questions with this episode than they did answers.
Me too, because they were trying to convince everybody that Sirach's not hobo, and I'm trying to convince everybody that he is, but I have more questions as to how to make that possible. Because they're basically, the show is telling you he's in the real world, but I don't believe them. Westworld writers are liars.
The Westworld writers are liars. You think that plane is maybe just getting ready to fly back to go to Westworld?
Could be.
Like they're in LA now, so they'd have to fly back to China and then hitch a boat back into Westworld, right?
Yeah, and they probably can fly in. You think that all of the high up people they ride a boat in?
Well, it seemed like they had to get to a place to take a train in, didn't it?
Yeah, because that starts like it's like you're loading into a video game, right? You get all dressed up, you get on the train, and when you get off the train, you're gonna be.
But yeah, Bernard was able to just motorboat back in. Like he didn't have to take a train; he was able to just get on a boat and just roll in.
Yeah,
which is weird. I mean, I guess you have to set up. You have to pick your white hat, black hat. They have to get you all simulated, but. Yeah, that is weird. It's like you think rich people just want to take a helicopter and just fly on in and just be situated. It's like, where did they go to have to get on that train to ride the train into Westworld?
Maybe it's like when you go to Disney World and some like there's different ways to get to the entrance. You know, you could just fly there. You could be on the monorail and get there, or you could take the ferry across. Right.
We got AK with us. She thinks they're going back to Westworld. Peter Griffin, they're all going to wake up on that train. That would be awesome. Next scene, they just all wake up on the train. That'd be amazing. It doesn't look as much security at park now. They still did because Bernard and Stubbs had to be careful when they were going around, and Stubbs did have to fight a few security guys in a couple different scenes. And Bernard told him, he's like, you're going to have to watch my back because there is a bunch, like they were going up to a level where there's a bunch of security. So I think there is still a lot of security in the park. Maybe that was just Teddy who wakes up. Are we going to get a Teddy sighting at the end of the season? Are we going to get another Teddy sighting before it's over?
Oh, Teddy's coming back. Full show.
Teddy's going to be one of the hosts that makes it back?
Yeah, and then he's going to be jealous of, what's his name?
Of Caleb.
Yep.
Are all the hosts, is Dolores going to be able to mend that bridge? She said that it was a bridge to nowhere, but we know Dolores knows how to lie. So is Dolores going to end up bringing back all those hosts that she sent off into the Sublime?
Maybe. Dolores is a liar, and she would do that, jerk.
Oh, so looking forward to Maeve. What do you need to see out of Maeve next episode?
I need Maeve to tell Dolores like that. Yes, I have this power, but I don't use it. So, like, suck it. I don't know. Like, I'm at least practicing what I preach in some way. But, like, sure, you have to realize concessions have to be made too, right? Like, you can't, if you had the power to free everybody, would you not use that power to keep the people that were oppressing the other people free? Like, that's the question. That's the philosophy behind it, I think, right? But Maeve's like, hey, everybody's free to do whatever they want. I'm not going to control you, even though I could.
Well, Dolores already told some of the natives, she's like, not everybody deserves to make it to the New World. So what was that all about? Well,
that's because Dolores is a jerk. I'm telling you, like, she is Napoleon from Animal Farm. It's not, yeah.
She's not a good person at heart. She's not good.
It's about her power. But I think Caleb's going to kind of affect that in some way.
Well, I think we're definitely going to get some more Men in Black scenes. We're going to see if he's it shows that he's kind of fighting, and looks like they inject him with a drip, and Yeah, we're going to be seeing all sorts of crazy stuff. Hey, what's up? Right at the very end, Dolls Pro, long-time watcher. Just hit the chat. Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. Yeah, we are just wrapping this one up. It was a heck of an episode. And like I said, I think they gave me more questions than they gave me answers. But they filled in a little bit of Sirach's origin story, so I definitely appreciated that. Oh, 5:30 a.m. there. I went to bed at 12:30 and woke back up at 5 to get up and do this. So what was that, 4.5 hours? We're rolling. We got 5 hours. 4.5. We're good. Oh, waking up early to see the beard spewing off all that knowledge and breaking down this show we love called Westworld.
Me trying to justify that Sirach is a simulated person, even after this whole episode was basically telling you that he's not. That's what you have to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, basically they are saying that he's a real person, and like I said, I mean, that is a good point. One True David Adams brought up about him being past the iPad, but again, like you said, the simulation has to be as real as possible. So, absolutely, it's going to be a crazy one. I'm gonna look back into it and try to rewatch it, and then see what else comes up and see if I come up with a few more answers that maybe they gave me that I missed the first time around, and maybe we'll pop back up on like Thursday and see what's going on, see if we can come up with a few more answers for people. What do you think?
Yeah, because I need to watch it again because there was so much, like I wanted to answer David's thing properly with proper reference to the scene, but I couldn't remember exactly because there was so much stuff I was trying to break down as to how this could be part of the simulation. So I just had to blanket everything where he touches a real touch of something. That's simulation world. So I'll get back on it and solidify my point.
There you go. So like I said, we'll do that rewatch. We'll get back at it, and maybe Thursday night we'll come back on and see if we figured anything else out. So other than that, that's going to do it for time around. I want to thank everybody that stopped on by and gave me more ideas. AK, you come up with some bangers out there. Love it. Carol Funk, Dallas Pro, One True David Adams, Peter Griffin, Chrissy Goldstones, Living My Rhapsody. Thanks everybody that made their way out. Hope everybody has an absolutely fantastic rest of the week. And until we see you Thursday night, you guys have a great one, and we'll see you soon. Be easy.